This is Ladybank. This train
Think of how many pairs of stairs or pairs of feet that have pounded on this throughout the years, since 1847. Think about it, you know, just... When I first came here, there was a bitter cold in the winter of 1990, and I used to open this up for my passengers, and I used to bring the benches in from the waiting rooms and put them in here and put this fire on, and they all sat in here and didn't want to go to their work, obviously, you know, because it was really cosy in here. But yes, yeah. Arthur?
Arthur.
You.
You.
He wasn't brought up in that house. He was brought up in the house down the stairs, I believe, and then moved upstairs. Yes, It was his aunt and uncle, I believe, that brought him up. Her name was Eva, and she was here when I first came, and she was the most glamorous lady I had ever seen of that age. And she used to come with bright green eyeshadow and bright blue eyeshadow, and she always had her lipstick on, and her hair was just beautiful. And she used to come in here to pay her rent, and she used to meet her beau here on the platform. Just on platform 2 here, there was a bench and 2 trees where the shelter is now. And because Arthur didn't approve of his aunt having a beau, they used to sit and winch up here on this seat. It was magical. And she used to meet him off the train, and they would sit holding hands, and then he would get on the train later on. And but she was a very glamorous woman, very glamorous. Never seen anybody like her, of that age, you know. Marvellous, eh?
My name is Irene Bennett, and I'm sitting in Ladybank Station House. My father was the station master there. We were thrilled when we heard we were coming to Ladybank, because my grandparents lived in Collessie and my other grandparents lived in Cooper, so we knew the area quite well. So my mother and I were delighted with our move to Ladybank Station House. But as usual, when we came to a station house, the station house was not just as my mother would have wanted it, and the railway company were not very good at doing things up, so we had to just make do quite often. The station, of course, was very busy, and I used to laugh about Dad walking along the platform here, calling, and it was because it was a junction then, Ladybank Junction, so the station master's job was to walk along the platform, letting folk on the train know where they were. Ladybank Junction was what he called, because there was a siding just beside the garden there where the trains went to Muckley and Kinross. That line closed during the time we were here, and my mother hated hanging out her washing if it was one of the days the engine was in there ready to take a train away, because it usually got up steam and chucked a whole lot of soot all over her washing. The wash house, and it was 1950, so the wash house was down the stairs there at the gate, and we had to carry the water down and fill the boiler and light the fire, and that was always the Monday morning chore, to get the boiler going and light the fire. I thought when we came here we had an orchard, because right at the end of the garden there was a gate through to some trees, and there were cherry trees, well, there were green trees, and I told everybody we'd come to a garden with an orchard. My bedroom upstairs overlooked the railway. Now, I had lived in a station house before, but never one with trains thundering past like the fast trains that moved past here on their way to Edinburgh or Aberdeen. So I can remember the house shaking, because in those days, of course, there were big, heavy steam engines, and I can remember the house shaking when I was in bed. But like most things, you get used to it, and I can't remember having many sleepless nights. In the kitchen, we had no bathroom in the house as such. The toilet and wash hand basin, which are still under the stairs, were same as when we were here, but there was a bath in the kitchen with a wooden lid on it, and that's where our bath was. So we came here in May 1950. Now, I remember in 1951 was the Festival of Britain, and in those days station masters had great competitions to make sure the station gardens were looking absolutely pristine. So we were here just a year before the Festival of Britain, and I remember all the tubs on the station had 1951 Festival of Britain painted on them, and all the flowers were red, white and blue. And Ladybank actually, I think in those days, won 1 or 2 competitions for gardens, because Dad was quite a keen gardener, and I'm sure some of the station staff helped him as well. Ladybank Station was very busy in those days because there were the engine sheds and lots of repairs were done there, and it was amazing at 5 o'clock when the working day finished to see everybody flooding across the square there past the War Memorial on their way home. As I say, it was really a railway town in those days and quite busy. We were on the first floor and the second floor of the station house. And by the way, in those days it was never called the station master's house. All houses were called station houses. I remember the Yule family lived on the basement. And then, of course, there was a station master after my father, I think. His name was Alan Reid, and I'm sure he came after Dad. Dad wasn't the last station master. And then Arthur moved up to this house, and I was always quite intrigued at that time, and I'm so delighted that I'm able to be back in it, just seeing it again. But as usual, when you go back to places, it looks so much smaller than it did then, because I was a child. I was only 8 when we came here, and I'm 70 now, so it's happy memories.
The station house was allocated to them in 1938, and it was 70 years all told when they got it, when Arthur died. But that was down the stair, like. Arthur only moved up the stair in 1970, I believe. And we had a long period where we never actually saw each other. And he actually served his time as a gardener, Arthur. And 1938 till 1970, down the stair, and from 1970 till 2011, when he took no well, and he died about 2 months later. So basically he was in the same house nearly all his life.